Alright, so I felt inspired after watching Red Table Talk. And I want to talk about narcissism and sociopathy. But before we go into that, like as far as autism is concerned, my UK purple tomatoes came back. They lived. Okay, hold on. Okay, you see this right here? Boom. That tag right there says UK purple right there. You see that UK? There we go. Anywho, those make an amazing tomato paste. If you think I'm joking, you gotta try it. So I'm like super excited about that. And I'm actually improving the greenhouse every day, surprisingly, whether it's airflow or something else. So sociopathy and narcissism. All right, so let's break down sociopathy. Sociopathy is the lack of empathy. I mean, you can throw all sorts of colorful words at it and try to explain it all day long, but effectively it's the lack of empathy. Empathy is your ability to identify that other people are other people, and it basically lets you put yourself into the other person's shoes to try and imagine what they would feel or what they are feeling. Now, sociopathy is a huge thing in the United States. Massive, huge, big. And it's also the prerogative of betas, which, I mean, let's face it, like 95% of the world is beta. So, narcissism is one has illusions of self-grandeur. Often, narcissism is a type of behavior. Sociopathy is a type of perception. And subsequent behavioral side effects and symptoms, yes. But sociopathy is a perception, whereas narcissism is a behavior. It's either psychopathically driven, meaning, yeah, you crazy, or it's driven by trauma, like being demeaned, by being put down, and so on and so forth. If you can't tell, I'm about to confess, yes, I was a narcissistic sociopath. As a baby, definitely. But then again, so were all of you. All of you wanted milk, and you didn't care if mama needed sleep. You wanted milk. And then our parents teach us, and we outgrow this stuff. We outgrow the behavior. If you see me just walking around, I like to walk and talk. It's just how I am. Doing just one thing, like sitting there and nomadi patries, all that good stuff, that ain't me. But, so narcissism is basically illusions of self-grandeur, or projected illusions of self-grandeur. So, for example, if you go to Hollywood, what Jada was covering from first-hand experience, and same thing with Willow. I can't wait to see what Willow's career turns into, but at the same time, you know, she's got to make that choice for herself. She wants to stay away from the public eye, and I get that. I also understand why she joined Red Table Talk. And I can't wait to hear the fullness of why she did it. Because I almost guarantee you it's to break out of her shell and to basically, for lack of better words right now, to condition herself to get used to the public eye. And I think that's a good move. I did the same thing, and my mentors put me through the same thing, so I totally get it. But yeah, narcissistic sociopathy, at least in my case, was, like, for example, when I was fat, I would walk into the room and I'd crack the first fat joke because I knew it was coming. I have more friends of the Mexican and Black community than anywhere else. And so when I was a teenager, I would crack the first white joke. Like, man, I'm so white you can see what I'm thinking. You think I'm playing? Stuff like that. Because when you get 6 or 7 people against one white autist, it can get brutal. Absolutely brutal. You could get 3 on one, and it can get very brutal. Like in a playful way, but at the same time, some of those stung. Like, dang. And so my response was to beat him to the punch and to get really good at punching back. And my friends will tell you, these days I can hit hard. And I can hit below the belt if I want to, too. I've got a lifetime of experience, practice, and trial and error. and psychological study to back all this. But then again, it doesn't change that I resent the need that I had to become that, to have that capability. So, when I was still in that, I think it shut off around 24, 25 or something like that. But yeah, it was around, I was 25 when I started to develop, like really, truly develop empathy. In fact, it was like a light switch. I kid you not, like one day I'm looking out for myself. What can I get from this person? What can I get out of life? To, whoa, I did that. I was that. Holy crap, I was an asshole. Like, it just instantly clicks, and all of a sudden, like, I can't walk over people anymore. It's just not my nature. Never has been. It was like a light switch going off and showing me a room I didn't know I still had. If that makes sense. I mean, you see all these old things and you're just like, oh my God, I remember that. Oh my God, I had so much fun with that. But you forgot about who you were when you had fun with those things and why you enjoyed those things. I haven't enjoyed anything for months. Not since January. And it's a weird thing that after years of just brutal honesty, I mean, honesty to the point where it's influenced my professional career before. But at the same time, it never lost me a job and it earned respect. So, I don't know. Sorry, I'm hitting a little bit close to home on this one. I almost fell back into my old tendencies. Because let me tell you this, being honest is hard. It's not that it's difficult to be honest. Like, I'm just going to walk the path. It's not difficult to be honest. It's difficult to be honest with all of you. I can be honest with myself, which has been uncomfortable. And I can be honest in business. I can be honest in 18 different ways. But at the end of the day, I'm going to totally steal those and use those to line the path. All of you are going to become part of an optical illusion. Oh, look at you, looking all sexy, trying to grow. Sorry. I am not going to eat you. These frogs act like they're brand new. But I fell back into bad habits. But I also lost the last thing that was important in my life. Like right now, I don't hold any value to my life. I don't hold any value to pretty much anything. Not anymore. But then again, I've been beat down and beat down and beat down and beat down and beat down. And my family is entirely unapologetic. Like, my family is the main reason why I'm in the position I'm in. Because what's funny is, like, right now, I'm doing exactly what family was sabotaging. Just through being nosy and arrogant and just overall 18 kinds of shitty. I'm doing exactly what I told them I was going to do that they stood in the way of. Exactly. Why? Because I researched it. Only I'm having to do it a lot quicker because part of me is hoping that there's some way to salvage what I've lost. Some of it, just a tiny bit. Sorry, I'm angry. It hurts to know how disregarding family is. But they're also narcissistic in a way too. And they exude sociopathic tendencies. That's what happens when you put somebody through trauma. My mother, she was lined up with her brothers and sisters according to her, a couple of uncles, and my grandmother, and they were beat just to remind them that their father was home. Grandpa Rahel was basically I'm getting burned. So Grandpa Rahel was the drunk that was never drunk. I'll walk this way. And so he carries that trauma onto my parents. My parents get weak, but here's the thing. Both of them have been called weak throughout their lives. They've both been made fun of. They've both been put down. They've both been beaten in some way or another. And life has kicked my parents' ass. Like my father lives in a trailer park for 50 plus people, like 50 years old and older, and he's the youngin'. And my mother, she's living off charity. She will be for the rest of her life. Both of them failed at business. Both of them failed family. I mean, they were both kind of absentee parents, and not so much, well, my mother was absentee up until the last few years, but she's just, she expresses anger and depression like I do. Meaning she gets angry. Like she expresses depression like I do. It's just, that's all it is depression. Depression and hopelessness. And I'm an easy target nowadays. Because I don't fight back. I know, like for example, she'll say stuff that was cutting. Or stuff that was meant to make me feel insecure further. Because that's what, she's on the spectrum. Nowhere near as pronounced as I am. But she is. And she's begrudgingly admitted it in private conversations. Like it wasn't all bad. It's just she had such, when it was bad, it was bad. The rest of the time, oh yeah, it's okay, so on and so forth. But there was this increasing toxic barrier. And I was continually being berated and put down and yelled at and ignored. Ignoring was the one that hurt the most. It wasn't that she would wake me up in the middle of the... Okay, so I lived on my mother's couch, right? Because my father started a chain of events that ended up with me being homeless. Or at least he contributed to that chain of events. Meaning that chain of events would have never occurred if he hadn't done anything. But, as always, he half-assed something. Got somebody else to do his work for him. Wasn't a father. And didn't take responsibility afterwards, but trusting him cost me a source of income. Which ultimately led me to being homeless, and then my mother kept me homeless. And I will stick by that and back it up if I have to. So, basically take just the little bit I described to you and add that to a lifetime. Lifetime of ignoring somebody, putting down, all that good stuff. The person learns to compensate. But then, now add in the fact that, number one, the person does trial and error and keeps a good record. Meaning I remember what works and what didn't. I was a little teenager at the time. At least the time I'm thinking of. We're calculating and we're strategic. I was a little shit. I mean, all the way up until like 25 or something like that. But the reason for it is I never had guidance. And after 14, when Grandma passed, she was the one that raised me. Like Grandma, she was my mom. My mother didn't really teach me anything. Like honestly, my parents didn't. And they'll say, we were always working, and you were so difficult, and blah, 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 blah. They never take blame for themselves, and that's what a narcissistic person would do. They'd never take blame. But I get where they're coming from. They've been beaten down all their lives. Now, is this me giving them an excuse for treating me like shit? Not at all. I never want to see those people again. But I understand them. I understand where they're coming from. I understand what happened to them. I understand. I need to clear this and clear the back 40. It's a nice little walk path, but here, I'll show you. It's a nice little walk path. And that's the way I just came from. Mosquito, if you try to eat me, I am going to beat the heck out of you. So you can see up here, it opens up a bit. We've got a little archway. So we've got trails all throughout this property, but like this thing right here, we're not sure if we're going to keep it or get rid of it. Because I kind of want to turn this little spot right here into a cove. But we also need to, like, you know, you can see the neighbors, all that. I'm pretty sure they don't want to see us and we don't want to see them. So We're going to put up some arborvitae and some other things. They're going to look attractive, but they're also going to put a nice little privacy barrier so that they're happy, we're happy, everybody's happy, you know? And then what we're going to do, this subject, narcissism and sociopathy, are uncomfortable to me because they hit extraordinarily close to home, and I'm totally changing the topic. I apologize. So, sociopathy is more natural to autists than anybody else, or people on the spectrum. Because self, the reason they call him autistic is one sorry, my Latin roots are rusty, but autistic basically refers to one who is content with themselves. Now, does that mean we want to be alone? No. Does it mean we need to be alone at times? Yep. I mean, we don't want to be alone all the time. I mean, that does so many things to your psyche, it's not even funny. I mean, just 3 months of that will destroy most people. And I very much mean that in every way, shape, or form, okay? It's an unpleasant experience. And no, I haven't been in jail. I've just self-isolated before. And that's kind of a protection method, is being sociopathic, meaning taking the emotion out of other people. Taking out the fact that I have emotions for other people is a self-defense mechanism. And I've had to use it a lot in my life. Because if you don't, it triggers depression, or at least in somebody compassionate like me. Because I do have a heart for people. You hurt an animal in front of me, I'm attacking you. You hurt an innocent person in front of me, I'm attacking you. I will defend them. Even if there's 5 of you against 1 of me, I will do that. And by the time I go down, you're going to remember I was there. At least a few of you. I mean, that mentality shouldn't be my first go-to when making a video. You know what I mean? But I've also been through a decent amount of trauma. Like, there's no one person on earth that has even a quarter of my story. Even the book that I wrote, not even remotely, infinitesimally close. I talk about meeting drug dealers and living with them, living with an actual kung fu master. That is not a joke, by the way. In fact, if you want to track it down, my Sifu, he used to fight in tournaments in Thailand against those Muay Thai fighters that, you know, they fight really strong until they're 40 and then they can't walk. Like, oh my gosh, a lot of my friends are models. And when you have friends that are limo drivers and models and jewelry dealers, you can get into any club, anywhere, at any level, except for like the EVVIP. So there was a club, you know, I'm not going to get into that story. We're talking sociopathy, narcissism. Now, the narcissism is that I've seen exuded by myself and others is, again, self-defense. I've never met a functional autist or anybody on the spectrum that was naturally cold-hearted. That's a lie. I've met 3 people that were naturally cold-hearted. And the other 50 plus, no, 100, wow, I don't have count. Sorry, I'm visualizing everyone. Sorry, see, you just saw the filter come off for a second. Like, that was me taking off the filter, and like literally I'm seeing face. You know, I'm seeing all this stuff and it's just flashing over my eyes in a split second. Like, kind of like my mind's eye. Third eye. I'm totally taking the third eye. Okay, this is, autistic, copyright. Autistic people have a third eye. I'm totally taking that. Like, it's happening. This is a thing. It's a thing now. It started here. Welcome. You know, what's funny is I know there's a lot of psychologists looking at this, seeing it scattered. Number one, it's a vlog. Well, they will look at this and see it. Like, my thoughts are scattered and dancing around and all that. First, it's a vlog. Second, I've been struggling for the past 16 years. Nonstop. Maybe periods where if I just sit still and don't try anything to get ahead, anything at all, then I get a couple months of, okay, complete solitude, selling computers and doing other people's homework. And yes, I used to do other people's homework. Not all of my students were that way. In fact, my first and my last students, I couldn't be more proud of them. They were absolutely fantastic. College students. Both graduated. Both were struggling at first. Both graduated with freaking honors. Like, it was a free education for me, and damn if they didn't get an education. Of course, I'd lecture them for hours. Like every week, it would be a couple-hour lecture, Q&A, all that good stuff. I mean, if they're paying me, they're getting my time. But all these psychologists, they're not going to be there, or the professionals and all that. The professionals are going to watch a lot of this, and they're not going to take away what's actually here. They're going to see somebody ranting. They're going to see somebody, so on and so forth. Because if they don't understand some of what I'm saying, or if they never learned it first, just watch. At least one thing I'm going to say on this channel is going to be taken by some other psychologist. Well, not other, because that's a protected word, but some other psychological expert. I can claim expert by the colloquial definition. Okay, 10,000 plus hours of study, practice, and application. I've done that in spades, at least twice over. So, but my mannerism is unappealing to those who consider themselves professional, aka betas. Why? Because betas are narcissistic. What? Did he just do that? Did he just lay it out there like that? Like narcissistic in the way of saying, I'm a doctor, and I know things, and there's nothing I don't know that isn't met by somebody at my level, because that degree is how I value myself. Haha. Like, really? I guarantee somebody's going to try and respin one of my theories, or one of my suppositions. I guarantee it. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Which way is a safe way to turn this camera? But yeah, long story short, wow, this is a 22-minute video. I did not mean to do that. But it's my vlog, so whatever. But one of the challenges in being autistic, and one of the things that has been ravaging my life from an emotional standpoint and professional, is being heard. I'm not heard. I was never heard by family. I was never believed by family. And professionally, my last job, I got heard, but at the same time, it didn't really go anywhere because it was a contract. Wow, that kid's running this car. But just because I don't have the title or the degree doesn't mean I don't know what the hell I talk about. I don't talk unless I do know. And as one thing you'll find from betas, okay, because I'm huge on the alpha-beta complex because it's very real. It's the source of narcissism. It is the basis for capitalism, which capitalism fairly is the most awesome system in the world. Oh my God. You just got to get the betas out of it to where they aren't trying to control everything. But otherwise, capitalism, holy crap, it works. Yes, and give me more. We ain't going to talk about the socialistic ties that need to be thrown in there, but dang, I just keep going on and on, don't I? I don't expect to be taken seriously. It's not until I get a degree and make the betas feel like, hey, he's finally one of us. But of course, I'm throwing all this out there because that whole, you don't have a degree, you don't know stuff. Yeah, that's narcissism. That's projected narcissism. You think I'm playing? Like, when that lady, I need to remember that doctor's name, but again, I'm autistic. I can explain damn near any organic psychological concept, including the ones that haven't been fully explained. I just don't have the vocabulary, the jargon, to be able to say things in a way that everyone can understand. I could say things in a way that the public will understand, but the psychologists are indoctrinated. And I will explain indoctrination another time, because that's a doozy. Long story short is, yeah, you know what? I'm going to just summarize everything. Narcissistic sociopathy is endemic to the American condition due mostly to beta control capitalism and marketing standards that were engineered in the 1950s and then propagated in the 1970s onto macro application of neurolinguistic programming. My goal in this channel and my goal in life is to help other people. And I'm starting with autistic people because I have a heart for the most vulnerable. It's the reason why I am the director of operations for the Victory for Veterans Alliance. The reason I do that is because female veterans are the most underserved. I have a heart for the underdog because I've been the underdog and I've come out on top more times than not. More times than not. And it takes an entire team of you coming at me from every direction at the same time in a perfect storm to stop me. Living proof right here. And I'm rebuilding from nothing again. Watch me do it. Autistic out.